but I mean, they're my kids, right? Right? What's up, y'all? I am Cherie Lynette from the Homeschool Lounge, and today we are talking about what do you do when your family does not agree with you homeschooling. They don't support it, they're totally against it, and they're pretty much giving you a hard time about it. So I am going to break this down into two different parts because depending on which family member you're talking about will depend on how you handle it. So your spouse is going to be different than like your extended family, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles to the kids. So I'm going to start with the extended family. So like I said, this is your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, the kids, aunts, uncles, grandparents, all that. The first thing I want to say is that anytime you approach any type of conflict with anyone, you always want to try to lead from a place of love and compassion, because as soon as we start from a defensive place, which is just natural, the instinct is to like just get defensive when somebody's going against something that we want or that we believe in. It just automatically puts out this combative vibe. So come from a place of love and compassion, even though you don't agree. Try to look at, why is this person feeling this way? Most of the times when people have a problem with something, it's because they don't understand it, and people don't like change. They just don't. So if you're whoever's giving you a hard time, your mom or your brother or your sister, whoever, and they went to traditional schooling, all they know is that this is the experience they had. This is what worked for them, and you're doing something that goes against the grain of what they're used to, and it makes them uncomfortable. And so they're giving you pushback because they think you're doing a detriment to your child by doing something outside of what they know. Now, is it right? Absolutely not. Like, everybody doesn't have to do things the same way. But if you come from a place of love and compassion, of like, okay, I understand you're reacting this way out of fear. You're fearing for my children that they're not going to be okay because this is something that you don't know. This is something that you're uncomfortable with. So even though you may be doing it ass backwards and giving me a hard time, you're really doing this out of love. Now, that being said, just because somebody's doing something out of love and it's fostered in fear, we don't let that affect the decisions we make in the life that we live. Like, we can't let somebody else's fear impact the decisions that we made. So if you've made a decision to homeschool your child and you're feeling uncertain about it because other people are telling you, what about socialization? What if they fail? What if they get behind? Whatever they're like talking in your ear about all the time, do not let that affect the decision that you made to homeschool, because all of that is rooted in fear. It's all fear, and we don't run our lives by fear. So all you have to do is set clear boundaries. Like, come from a place of love and compassion. I understand why you feel this way. I understand these are your fears. And then you can feel free to tell them, like, I know you're worried about socialization. These are the things that I already have planned. I know you're worried about them getting behind. But look at the advantages for a child to have one-on-one, or depending on how many kids you have, 2-on-1 or 5-on-1 learning compared to 40-on-1 in a classroom. They actually have a better chance of getting ahead. So if you help break down those fears, a lot of times it helps open up everything where they're like, oh, okay, all these things that I was scared of, you've already addressed, and it helps eases their fear, which of course helps ease the relationship of them being more accepted. So the next thing you can do is have a Facebook group. So I used to do this. It wasn't a Facebook group because I didn't have Facebook groups back when I did this, but I would have a photo album, and it was private just for my family members. So I homeschooled my niece at one time for about 3 years, and then I made an album so my sisters could access it, my parents could access it, me and my husband, of course, and it was pretty much just documenting everything that me and the kids were doing. So If you let them see like the amazing life that you get with homeschooling, let them see the activities you're doing, the field trips you're taking, the moments you're having together, how they get to experience the world in a way that they don't get to experience in a traditional classroom. A lot of times this also helps alleviate because people just need to see. They don't know any different. And by you showing them like this is what we're doing, a lot of times once again it softens and it's like, oh, okay, this isn't what I thought it was. Because most people just think of homeschooling as like people in like old like costumey, like from what was that show, the Little House on the Prairie, and the kids are weird and don't socialize, and they just have this antiquated view of homeschooling and they have no idea what it's really like. So give them the show them what it's really like. And a lot of times this will take away that fear, which will help foster everything and get a shift in their perspective. And because you came at them in a loving, positive, progressive way instead of immediately just getting defensive and angry, it's a better chance of the whole situation getting better quickly and fostering and growing. Now, there are always those few instances where you have some family members who, it doesn't matter how much you try to show them, it doesn't matter how much you try to tell them, it doesn't matter what you do, they're still going to say, I feel like I'm right and you're wrong, and I don't think you should be doing that. Once again, I'm talking about grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever. Oh well, like you've tried, now it's time to set the boundary. Okay, I appreciate that you feel that way, but guess what? This is what I'm doing. You can take it or leave it, but it's not open for discussion anymore. I'm not going to go back and forth with you about it. This is what I'm doing, so you either accept it or you don't. And draw that boundary. They're your children. It's your child. You don't have to sit here and argue or convince anyone that something you and your spouse decided to do is okay. If you and your spouse are on the same page, then that's all that matters. Everybody else, that's their problem. So now with the spouse, this is a whole different ballgame because you can't just tell your spouse, these are my kids. It doesn't matter. These are both of your kids. This is a decision that you want to make together. You want to be supportive together. So with your spouse, you need to build more of a case. This is like you coming up with a presentation, and if they're just not on board with it, if they're not feeling it, you feel strongly about it, then you need to do what you need to do to try to convince them. So like I said, most of it comes from fear. And so you want to squash those fears from the beginning. And what you can do is like do your research, like find out about homeschooling, talk to other homeschooling moms, like answer these questions about socialization, about a child getting behind. If you're not sure which curriculum to use or what to do, there's all kinds of resources and help. Like educate yourself so that when you do talk to your spouse and they have those questions, you feel confident answering them. And one of the best things that you can do is just reach a compromise. The thing about homeschooling is that it does not have to be a permanent decision. It's not like if you say, okay, I'm going to homeschool, and you and your spouse look at each other like, this just isn't working for our family. Like, that's it. It doesn't matter. You said you're homeschooling. You're stuck for life. Like, that's not how it works. When I was a teacher, I had students who were homeschooled return to school. I had students who were in school leave to get homeschooled. It was constant. Like, it's not set in stone. So if at least for a compromise, if you've done your research and you're feeling passionate about it and your spouse doesn't agree, then come up with a compromise. Like, let's try it for one semester, or let's try it for one school year. And if we both don't agree that it's working, if we both don't agree that it's a fit, then, we will discuss them going back to school. That way, none of you is just ruling with the iron fist, because marriage is about compromise. It's about respecting each other. They're both of your children, and you don't want it to be, he doesn't agree with it, you're doing it anyway, or he doesn't allow it because you want it, or, you want to make sure that you reach a compromise. So that's what I would say. It's just like with extended family. Lead from a place of love. Understand that most people who are against homeschooling, it's just based out of fear. People just don't do well with what they don't know. And the best thing you can do is love, educate, and then with your spouse, compromise, extended family. They don't want to deal with it. They're your kids. All right, guys, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about homeschooling, make sure you check out my blog at CherieLynette.com, or make sure you follow me on Instagram at CherieLynette, and you will find all kinds of homeschooling tips, resources, and anything else I can help you with. And also, if you're looking to homeschool and you don't know what to do or how to get started, make sure you check out my Homeschooling 101 course, where I break down everything for you, from how to get started to how to choose a curriculum, how to homeschool multiple age groups, all the questions new homeschool moms had that I had when I first started homeschooling. So I will see you guys next time in the Homeschool Lounge. Bye.